And I tried to say kafunsho, so I'm sneezing and sneezing. I was like, kofunshiteru, which can mean you're horny. I was trying to get out kafunsho.
Yes.
But then when I said it, like the person just looks at me like, what the hell? Why are you sneezing and saying you're excited? That was kind of embarrassing.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hey, how's it going?
What's your name and where are you from?
I'm Vishal. I'm from California.
How long have you been here?
I've been in Japan for about 5 months now.
5 months. So what actually brought you here?
So I was always interested in Japan growing up. Came here about 3 times, and thought it was, a pretty nice place. It was really fun to visit. It kind of led me to quit my last job, and around that time I was like, before I turn 30, I kind of want to see what it's like to live in another country. So I just kind of decided Japan seems cool, and I just got a job out here.
What attracted you about Japan?
I think at first, most people outside of Japan probably learn about Japan through things like anime and sushi, ramen. I guess the most famous parts of Japanese culture that go out to other countries. Aside from that, I kind of just had started learning the language when I was, 15 or 16. And then after I got into college, I had an opportunity to come to Asia once. And on the way back, I was able to stop in Japan. This was like 10, 11 years ago now. And ever since then, I was like, every time I wanted to go on vacation somewhere, it always felt like there was somewhere in Japan I hadn't seen yet. And each time I came, I could speak a little bit more Japanese, so that kind of enhanced the experience a little bit. So after the third time, I was able to speak enough to kind of get around, and I was like, I could really see myself living here. And that was like 5 years ago now, so 5 years later, I'm here.
Wow, that's a great journey, right?
It's fun stuff.
How did you make it? I mean, is it related to your job?
Yeah, so I feel like most people, the easiest way for, I think, Americans to get to Japan would be joining one of those English teaching programs. But I really enjoyed my last job, and I wanted to stay in the same field. So after I had quit my last job, I kind of just searched for work in the same field in Japan, and it took quite a long time. It took me like eight months or so to find the job, but eventually found a spot that I thought would be a good fit, and then luckily I made it through the interviews and everything, and I started working with that company. So I had to get the job first, then get the visa, then I got to come here.
It's like a very smooth procedure.
Yeah, I would say the company kind of took care of most of the paperwork and stuff. I think the most difficult part was actually just finding the job. So that was probably the hardest part that took the longest, but after that everything was pretty smooth.
Cool. You learned Japanese from 15 years old.
I would say that I started maybe 10 years ago, but I was like pretty half-assed about it. I started and stopped and started and stopped. I never really learned how to read or write. And I learned it mostly just through like speaking to people and like watching YouTube and stuff like that. I only really learned how to speak and have a normal conversation maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I feel like I've improved quite a lot in the last 5 months just being here, because actually being surrounded by it helps a lot.
How often do you use Japanese in your daily life?
Every single day.
So far, is there any problem?
The language barrier is still definitely there. I'd say my level right now is still kind of daily conversation. So I can like hang out at a bar with someone and have a normal conversation, but when it comes to things like more formal talk or industry-specific talk, for example, I've been looking for a new apartment to live in, and the way that the realtors and stuff speak to you can be really difficult. Not only are they using words that I've never heard before, contract type words.
Yes, this is complicated.
Yeah, but they're also, talking in like the really respectful tone in Japanese, which just makes everything way longer. And I have to like kind of pick and choose like which word was he trying to say here in this like jumble of speech that he just said. So that part's still really difficult for me. For example, if you go to the izakaya, they have the menus that are on the walls that are handwritten. Google's not going to help you there. So it's times like that when I need someone to like kind of read things out for me, but most of the time I can ask someone to like say, hey, what's that? But aside from that, I really should kind of like learn how to read or write. But so far, having a smartphone with you all the time makes it really easy to kind of like see what's on walls and stuff like that. So I haven't really been studying up on reading and writing as much as I should. I think once I find picking up my phone to take pictures of everything inconvenient enough, I'll probably start studying a little bit harder.
Speaking about ordering food in restaurant, have you experienced any difficulties?
So it wasn't while ordering food, but it was while talking to someone who was working in a restaurant. I think I was just like eating or something, and I started sneezing a lot. And I just recently, I thought I learned this new word, kafunsho, which is like hay fever or something like that. I thought it was just like to say like you have an allergy or something, because they were like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I tried to say kafunsho, so I'm sneezing and sneezing. I was like, "Kofunshiteru," which can mean you're horny. I was trying to get out kafunsho.
Yes.
But then when I said it, like the person just looks at me like, "What the hell? Why are you sneezing and saying you're excited?"
You just like mix up the two words. Compensate.
Yeah, that was kind of embarrassing.
Where did you learn compensate?
I just always thought kofunshiteru means like, "Oh, I'm so excited," but I was wrong on both counts, I guess.
Now there's another meaning, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny. 5 months here. Is there any culture shock for you?
Something that I can't really get used to is how crowded the trains get during rush hour. I feel like more like logistics shock for me, but that's something that, especially in the summer, I've been having a lot of trouble with. Like just today getting here, the train was insane. Super crowded. I thought like, when I visited here, I'd been in some crowded trains, but I guess I'd never like ridden them during rush hour, because it's almost every day at this point where I'm like just wedged between like two sweaty people. It's wild.
Some of my Japanese friends, they just want to avoid the rush hour. So they sacrifice their sleeping time to go to office earlier. Will you do that?
Recently I've been just getting up early naturally, but even if I'm up at like 6 in the morning and I leave my house at 7, the trains still get pretty crowded. I'm lucky enough to be at the end of one of the train lines, so my stop is either the first stop or the last stop. So if I get there in the morning, I do get a seat, but by the time you hit like Shinjuku Station, the crowd comes in and you're suffocating again. I think like getting up early and getting on the train early, not a huge problem for me, but I can totally understand why someone would sacrifice sleeping time to avoid that, especially if your commute is longer than like 30 or 40 minutes.
Yes.
Aside from that, like, I don't know if you could call this culture shock, but something that I've been super surprised by is lunch menus.
Lunch menus?
Lunch menus.
Yeah.
So like, every single restaurant I've been to, when I open the menu, the first page is always this page full of really good looking stuff.
Yes.
It looks really cheap, 500, 600, 700 yen. And by the time I decide what I want, I realize that this is only served during lunch. And it's every single place I go to. They have like a ridiculously cheap lunch menu.
Yes.
And then if I go back there for dinner, it's like 3 times the cost. And we didn't really have that back in the States. But honestly, it's been almost every restaurant I've been to in Tokyo at least, where I'm like, damn, I look at the menu and I'm like, wow, I could have saved this much.
So what you usually eat for your lunch?
Honestly, someone in the office always just like raises the alarm around like 12:30. Is like, everybody, let's go to lunch. Like, I don't know the area too well yet. So someone at work will usually just say, hey, let's go here. So it's like always a different thing. There's small little izakayas that are open during the day, and they just give you like some really big, hearty, healthy meal. I mostly don't know what the stuff is called, but rice, chicken, pork, just everything. And it's always like really healthy, which surprised me.
Sounds like a very good company and very good environment, because everybody is like getting together for lunch, not going to eat separately.
Yeah. I mean, I work at a really small company. It's a startup that has less than 20 people, so everyone gets along pretty well.
What's your favorite Japanese food?
My favorite Japanese food so far? I think at the start when I got here, I would probably eat ramen almost every single day.
Ramen?
Yeah, but a little bit heavy in sodium, so I've been trying to cut down on it a little bit. I'm a pretty big fan of famichiki.
Famichiki?
Yeah.
So you always go to convenience store?
It's so good.
So good.
It's so freaking good. I mean, I know it's unhealthy. It's really unhealthy, but my God, I can't stop.
Everyone loves convenience store in Japan.
Yeah.
What's the difference comparing to United States?
In the United States, they're not convenient. They're not convenient
Not
at all.
convenience.
Yeah.
In terms of what?
I mean, you go to a 7-Eleven and you automatically feel like they want you out of there back in the States. It's like, just get your stuff and get out. In Japan, like you can mail stuff from a 7-Eleven. You can buy concert tickets. You can buy train tickets. You can get your Amazon packages delivered there. It's insane how much stuff you can do. I feel like I've only scratched the surface so far. But yeah, I love it here.
What's your hobby? What you usually do when you don't have to work?
I don't know. Recently, I picked up skateboarding, so that's been kind of fun.
Skateboarding?
Yeah.
You play it in United States as well?
No, I started here.
You started here?
Yeah.
Well, you are very special.
I mean, I just kind of wanted something to get me outside, which was a terrible idea in the summer because right now the parks are extremely hot.
Yeah.
But I found like, one or two indoor parks that have been kind of fun. I'm still like a complete beginner. I can barely just move around right now.
Like an ollie or
I can't even ollie yet.
Is it the basic skills?
It should be, but I know people who couldn't ollie for like a year, so I'm still at the start.
So you are meeting some friends there?
Yeah, I've met a few people who are like kind of around the same age as me who are also starting out, so it's been fun.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.